It comes as no shock that major leading companies are often subject to complex conspiracy theories. The real kicker, though, is when those outlandish ideas are proven true, especially when they target one of the largest social media platforms that dominates the world, YouTube. Spanning 8 seasons, from 2006 to 2013, and becoming the most rented DVD box set in Netflix history, was the American television drama Dexter, a show that follows the life of a vital fluid analyst working for the Miami Metro Police Department. The man, Dexter Morgan, though, leads a double life. While investigating homicides, he hunts down and slays the suspects who've seemingly escaped the justice system. As the storyline unfolds, we're introduced to a variety of characters. But as watchers began to catch on to the idea that some of the characters with whom Dexter and other characters interact with aren't real, the line between who was an actual person and who wasn't became increasingly blurred, leading fans to only guess at who is and isn't who they appear to be. This is where the popular Geller theory comes in. The Geller theory refers to one prominent character, Professor James Geller, who appears in the 6th season of the show. He was once a professor of religious studies at the University of Tallahassee, and there he was fascinated with the concept of end times mythology. He wrote several books on the subject before being fired. He subsequently vanished until his name began to appear with the start of doomsday slayings. Some fans, skeptical and with the who is real question in mind, found themselves growing suspicious of Geller. He was portrayed as a living character who was involved in creating the doomsday tableaus. Throwing many viewers off the scent was also the fact that Geller could seemingly interact with the physical world, and in one of the episodes, another character who was captured expressed that she heard 2 voices talking to her during the ordeal. He was also not someone that Dexter had interacted with, but was seen around another character, Travis Marshall, instead. But this was no match for those sharp-eyed fans who began to surmise that he was nothing more than just another of the hallucinations that showed up in the series. It was a theory that took social media by storm, especially when the season was drawing to a close, with 8 episodes down and just 4 more to go. It was time to ask the real questions. Fans suggested that Geller wasn't real and was rather the product of Travis's mind. The physical acts that Geller seems to perform are actually being carried out by Travis, who doesn't even realize that he's doing it, they theorized. There were some doubters of this theory, given that the hallucination was happening with the main character, as it generally would. Doubters cited Geller's spying activities as credence to the idea that he was real, but there were many more clues against this concept that suggested he was a hallucination. Believers of the idea suggested that no one ever interacted with Geller except for Travis, and no one notices him or even talks to him. This character also appears to have an inconsistency when it comes to the matter of free will. So with 4 episodes to go, one of them was bound to confirm or deny the Geller theory. At the very end of season 6, Dexter discovers the deceased frozen body of the professor in the church's basement. His passing was not recent either. Turns out he'd been there for the past 3 years. Travis, who has severe psychological issues, had been hallucinating him the whole time, as a character who helped him carry out the doomsday slayings. In another plot twist, it was also revealed that Travis was Geller's student, and he'd been the one to abruptly end his life. The season finale ultimately confirmed the fan theory right, even if it was far more obvious. This revelation made Geller's existence in the series a false main antagonist, leaving viewers either patting themselves on the back or staring wide-eyed at their TV screen. As innocent consumers, a major portion of society stands idly by, waiting for the world's leading companies to produce something that they can eat up. Often, we trust in said companies to provide social media users with safe and secure products and services. On rare occasions, though, these protocols fail, and those who have used these services are the ones left paying the price. Such was the case in 2024, when a deceptive practice, coded by a sweet-sounding name, rolled out across YouTube, affecting creators and affiliate marketers as a whole. Honey, a browser extension, was introduced to social media users back in 2012. The extension's purpose was to help users find and apply coupon codes in online shopping stores. The extension is supposed to help users save on purchases that they make online by giving them the best available coupons at checkout. Since 2012, numerous updates have been rolled out for Honey, such as the ability for users to earn points when using the extension, which can later be redeemed for cash, credits, or gift cards. Honey's purpose was straightforward, simple, and innocent, and it certainly wasn't meant to do this. In 2014, one of YouTube's creators uploaded a video, originally from 2021, pointing their finger at Honey and calling it out for running a scam that targeted both consumers and influencers. According to this YouTuber and several others who spoke out afterward, the extension was responsible for hijacking affiliate links that were meant to pay creators for promoting their affiliate business. Not only that, but Honey was also allegedly offering limited coupon options and even published some seriously misleading advertisements. The initial video that brought this scam to light was a 3-part series that garnered more than 9.4 million views. It wasn't only in 2024, though, that someone was making a sinister suggestion about Honey. All the way back in 2019, another YouTuber suggested that the extension was shady. Another video had surfaced in 2020, claiming that the Honey app was a scam. The 2021 follow-up to this video would not be publicized until 2024, revealing unexpected details of an alleged conspiracy to defraud creators out of money and deceive consumers. What made this scam even worse was that several creators realized that a scam was taking place across YouTube, but decided not to publicize it, or their videos were somewhat suppressed. Some creators even continued to promote the extension despite the controversy that surrounded it, and Honey was allegedly stealing from them too, without their knowledge. Mr. Robot, the American drama thriller series, follows a haunting plot. It sees Elliot Anderson, a cybersecurity engineer, becoming a vigilante hacker as he battles mental health issues as well as addiction. From the first season, Elliot is recruited by a shadowy organization consisting of hackers called F Society. The group's primary purpose is to expose and dismantle the world's largest and most corrupt associations. In this case, their focus is on an E-Corp. Amid this immoral act, Elliot uncovers a world of darkness, not only in his own past, but also about the world and the true nature of the titular character, Mr. Robot himself. Season 2 of the series follows the F Society hack, focusing more on Elliot's efforts to control his Mr. Robot personality. One of the other characters, Darlene, is left in charge of the organization, while Elliot faces FBI investigations. This season reveals the fallout of the hack, as well as the rise of E-Corp's eCoin. This season, though, was bound for a shocking finale, one that some fans had already guessed. First appearing on the Mr. Robot subreddit, fans began to surmise that Season 2 takes place while Elliot is in prison. Their evidence for this narrative came from Season 1. At the end of this season, a knock at the door signals the return of the police, who are coming to inquire about the passing of Shayla, which is standard procedure. But the arrival of the police, fans suggested, was actually to arrest Elliot instead. Further evidence for this idea began in the very first episode of the next season. The initial observations made by some intrigued viewers suggested that the character was in prison, and he was warping his own experience in an effort to make it more comfortable. These observations included the size of his room, which was small, rectangular, and allowed no access to the internet. All Elliot had was a notebook and desk. Each of his meals was scheduled, starting with an 8 a.m. breakfast, a 12 p.m. lunch, and 6 p.m. dinner. The mother figure in the season also acts like a prison guard who instructs him on when to wake up and when to go to sleep. At exactly 10 a.m., Elliot will be, quote, helping out around the house, showing similarities to prison work. 2 days a week, he's subjected to a group meeting, a feature prevalent in most prison systems where rehabilitation is a focus. His visit from Gideon is also likened to that of a jail visitation. The men are both separated, and when voices are raised, the mother figure immediately turns around to ask what's going on, much like a prison guard would. One of the most telling pieces of evidence for some fans, though, came in episode 4, when Darlene says, "I'll never understand why you did this." This implies that Elliot may have openly confessed, telling the police that he was involved in Shayla's demise when they came knocking back in Season 1. While it may have seemed like too big of a plot twist, fans were right to be distrustful of what was being presented, especially through the routine life that Elliot lived with his mother. Viewers hit this fan theory right on the nose. In episode 7 of the second season, the truth is finally revealed. In one scene, Elliot's psychologist Krista reveals that Elliot's interactions and his settings are all part of his experience in prison. Since its inception in 2005, YouTube has continued to grow in popularity. From its establishment, it would see 30,000 viewers per day. A few months later, the platform was serving 2 million viewers per day. Each month, those numbers increased, making it one of the leading social media platforms. Even though people around the world had access to a free video streaming service that allowed them to watch content they were interested in and stay up to date with the news, one thing was getting in the way: ads. YouTube videos were infested with ads for products and services. Users were forced to endure a few seconds of an advertisement before being given the option to skip it and return to their video. Advertisers make up a major part of the platform, allowing the company and creators to profit, and in exchange, the company gets more reach for their product. Years after the release of YouTube, a majority of the audience were beginning to get fed up with having to watch an ad or two at the beginning or end of the videos. The users were incredibly vocal about their frustrations, and it eventually led to the change they wanted, but it came at a cost. In 2014, the platform launched YouTube Premium, known previously as YouTube Red. It was a subscription that allowed users to access content completely ad-free. It also provided the audience with access to YouTube Originals, the ability to download content, and the option to listen to videos in the background on mobile devices while engaging in other applications or locking their phone screen. It was everything that any social media user could dream of. No ads meant uninterrupted viewing, but again, it came at a cost, specifically at $13.99 a month for an individual plan, or $22.99 a month for a family plan. A large portion of YouTube users, though, found themselves unable to make the switch. The amount was just another commitment they had to make that they weren't prepared for. While some users initiated their premium accounts, others decided to stick with the ads, a choice that was not at all beneficial to the platform, which had realized the substantial amount of money that it could make. In recent years, it's been discovered that YouTube is initiating several changes, making the free tier not as free anymore. It appears that a conspiracy is underway to push non-premium users to pay for the service, and the company is allegedly doing this through some daunting measures and manipulation. Measures such as unskippable ads, which often run much longer than they did before. At first, it didn't seem like that big of a deal, but that's only the start of it. From longer ads came several unskippable ads in a row in one video. Some audience members found that they were being forced to watch 5 ads throughout the entirety of one video, while others endured a harrowing 10. Often, by the time they reached the 6th interruption, the content was no longer deemed worth watching. YouTube's sudden increase in ads certainly made a point, leading many to subscribe to YouTube Premium, whereas others refused to bow down to the greediness they were witnessing. It didn't stop there, though. YouTube's next target was the popular ad blockers, leading several news outlets, blocker companies, and social media users to dub it the war against ad blockers. One tactic the platform used was to block playback outright unless the user endured the ads or subscribed to Premium. Not choosing either of these options meant that the audience was unable to even watch their desired video. To many, it felt like a ploy to encourage them to purchase a subscription for what was supposed to be a free video streaming service. According to reports, some confirmation from alleged YouTube executives suggests that premium users were far more valuable. In 2013, one of the greatest American adult animated series came to television screens. Rick and Morty, created by Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon, burst with color, insane storylines, and even stranger characters. The plot centers around Rick Sanchez, who disappeared for 20 years only to reappear on his adult daughter's doorstep, quickly becoming an integral part of the family. But Rick was something of a mad scientist and worked on all kinds of dangerous gadgets and contraptions. Often, he would rope his grandchildren, Morty and Summer, into his insane adventures, pulling them directly into harm's way on countless occasions. The group ends up going to alternate dimensions, exploring other planets, and visiting strange domains, making numerous friends and enemies along the way. One of those friends was Bird Person, whose name directly explains exactly what the creature is. Bird Person has known Rick for a good amount of time, and has seemingly also known Morty since he was just a baby. After being introduced in the episode Ricksy Business, where he attends a party hosted by Rick, Bird Person finds romance with one of Summer's high school friends, Tammy, and the two later go on to get married. The fan theory concerns both of these characters, Bird Person and his non-half-bird wife. At some unspecified point, viewers began to suspect that something was up with Tammy. First, in the Me Seeks and Destroy episode, she seems to intentionally target Summer at Harry Herpson High School, befriending her almost instantly. It was a feature that had some fans instantly suspicious of the character, but they weren't quite certain as to why she was suspicious just yet. The distrust only deepened in the party episode, when Tammy became overly attracted to Bird Person. Her attraction towards him seems oddly high for the character, especially considering that Bird Person is much older than her and isn't exactly charming. Her love interest in an alien insurgent served as the perfect cover for whatever secret things she was up to, according to some sharp-eyed viewers. While they still couldn't say exactly why they believed Tammy was suspicious, they couldn't shake the feeling, and they just had to wait until it was finally revealed. That reveal came on the day of Bird Person and Tammy's wedding. The foreshadowing was unignorable. The gathering in celebration of the wedding was convenient. It saw the congregation of many wanted criminals, including Bird Person himself, Rick, and Squanchy. Each of these characters was a criminal wanted by an organization known as the Galactic Federation. During the wedding, Tammy reveals herself as a deep cover agent for the Federation. While making a toast, the agent pulls out her Federation identification, exposing who she is, before drawing an alien-like firearm and turning it on her new husband. Bird Person is left deceased as the rest of the agents of the Galactic Federation swarm in, armed with laser-like weapons. The entire venue is left in a state of disarray and chaos as Rick desperately tries to portal himself and his family out of the area. The agents make their efforts to either capture or slaughter the rest of the criminals, while Tammy tries to detain Rick. Luckily, the family makes a lucky escape, but in the episodes to follow, Tammy's unrelenting need to capture Rick is revealed. YouTube has gone to great lengths to protect its users and creators through various guidelines and rules that make the platform safe most of the time. The company also has gone to great lengths to protect those who aren't affiliated with YouTube, such as musicians, artists, and video owners. They protect these individuals through copyright guidelines, which often automatically take effect when copyright is detected in certain content. Copyright rules aren't unique to YouTube, of course, but are instituted in every aspect of the technological world, protecting those who created it and their work. Although it may seem like this particular YouTube feature is a failsafe, it turns out it's not. In 2011, a major sham was brought into public view when certain rogues took advantage of YouTube's copyright control filters, known alternatively as Content ID. The conspiracy began with something as simple as a cat video, which was at the time all the rage on the viewing platform. This particular video was recorded by the channel's owner of their cat named Pepper, who was ripping up a piece of paper. It was clear that they'd been the original owners of the video, but that's not what copyright policy saw when one rogue company hijacked the video, claiming that it was their own. So the control filters kicked in without any legal oversight. With the claim that this particular company was the true owner of the video, any ad revenue would be redirected into their account, resulting in a significant loss of profit for the actual uploader. This practice was seen as blatant copyright fraud and Content ID abuse. The hijacking of videos and channels wasn't a one-time occurrence, and several companies were behind it. Kidnapping of videos, according to anecdotal evidence, suggests that it's occurred thousands of times over the years, allowing these rogue companies to profit greatly. The sheer number of complaints regarding hijacking and fraudulent copyright claims serves as a potential indicator of just how much these rogues are profiting from videos that are not theirs. Some creators who have uploaded their own original content to the platform have claimed that they've been victimized by this conspiracy at least 20 times in the span of a few months, resulting in their videos being removed or allowing the fraudulent claimant to earn revenue from advertising every time someone clicks on the video. When the Content ID, which operates on autopilot, finds a match between videos, it emails the uploader to inform them of the claim and discloses the name of the company that made it. Unless the creator files a counterclaim or disputes that any violation occurred, the claimant is awarded full control over the video. It's alleged that these scammers are relying on the idea that most creators would be intimidated by the official sounding company, preventing them from protesting. Those who are brave enough, though, do file a counter notice, forcing the scammers to abandon the claim. Several victims of this scam were left unsettled and confused when they saw new ads being played on their content, but the revenue from those ads wasn't being deposited into their accounts. In 2016, Netflix released an original series that became the most watched series of the year. It was the American sci-fi series Stranger Things, where dark secrets and sinister creatures lurk. The show takes place in the 1980s and is set in the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana. The first season begins with the strange disappearance of Will Byers, prompting numerous groups to conduct separate investigations. Will, though, wasn't just another missing kid who would be found lost in the forest or kidnapped. He was in a place much creepier, the Upside Down, abducted by the Demogorgon. Along the way, we meet some interesting characters, including Will's immediate friend group consisting of Dustin, Mike, and Lucas. Fans couldn't help shake the feeling, though, that they'd seen the friend Steve in a different series, or at least someone who looked like him. As the seasons drew on, viewers began trying to get to the bottom of it. After scouring through previously watched TV shows, they finally found what they were looking for, a discovery that would lead them to an outlandish conclusion. The similar-looking character that they were searching for was in the series Parks and Recreation, an American sitcom. This show, just as popular as Stranger Things, dates back to 2009. It follows the humorous relationship between government employees of the Parks and Recreation Department, the fictional town of Pawnee, Indiana. While it's clear that these series are worlds apart, completely different from one another, there was a strange similarity that fans found. One recurring character in Parks and Recreation was a man named Jean-Ralphio Saperstein, who was equipped with 2 house arrest bracelets, the first person to do so in Pawnee. Jean-Ralphio is a friend of Tom, with whom he shares a similar personality, and he also has a sister named Mona Lisa. This character, portrayed by Ben Schwartz, has a notable appearance, one that offers a sense of familiarity. That's because he shares a striking resemblance to Stranger Things' Steve Harrington. This similarity led viewers down a strange path. They suggested that Steve is actually the father of Jean-Ralphio and Mona Lisa. The idea found its way onto the fan theories subreddit, where the poster was criticized for their outlandish theory, with many stating it was possibly the worst theory they'd ever heard. The idea was that the Saperstein siblings were the product of Steve and Nancy. It was theorized that the couple suffered a traumatic event that led Steve to change his name to Dr. Saperstein and move out of Hawkins to Pawnee, where he raised Mona Lisa and Jean-Ralphio. It would have been easy for this crazy suggestion to remain just that, something that viewers may discuss over lunch or debate on a group chat. But luckily for us, James Corden became just as curious about the truth. Joe Keery, the actor who portrays Steve Harrington, and Ben Schwartz, the actor who plays Jean-Ralphio Saperstein, sat down together on The Late Show with James Corden, and it was here that the wild theory was addressed. Corden asked if they could provide some sort of resolution, one that would allow us to get some sleep at night. The actors confirmed that the worst theory ever was actually right. Steve is Jean-Ralphio's father. The parallels are uncanny. Both men are from Indiana, in fictional towns that are not too far from one another. They share a similar appearance, and they even hold the same interests and ideas. The term adpocalypse was introduced into creator lingo back in 2017, when one of the most notorious events in YouTube's history played out. It was at the very beginning of that year when something unnerving was brought to the public's attention. YouTube rolled out a major wave of demonetization, along with some incredibly strict advertising policies. This came after several major advertisers abruptly pulled their ads from the platform. These advertisers, including Verizon, AT&T, Walmart, Pepsi, and Johnson & Johnson, discovered that their products and services were being displayed alongside extremist or inappropriate content. The videos were supposedly violent, grotesque, or promoted hate speech. Fearing that their companies would face backlash and damage to their reputations, the collective decision was made to pull the ads. Almost overnight, changes swept across the platform, altering the monetization system and flagging content that was deemed inappropriate. Although YouTube believed it was doing the right thing to maintain its partnerships and advertisers, the impact it had on independent creators was monumental. Several YouTubers saw massive swaths of demonetization, resulting in a significant loss of money. Even major creators such as PewDiePie saw their videos being demonetized, resulting in the loss of brand partnerships and sponsorships. Partnerships, income, and advertising seemingly evaporated overnight. Creators weren't the only ones affected by the adpocalypse, though. YouTube itself faced significant backlash from those who made use of the platform. Even so, they were forced to inaugurate more sanitized and policed guidelines for content. Ultimately, the platform prioritized its advertisers over the freedom of its creators and their content. YouTube defended itself by saying that these vague policies were necessary to reassure advertisers and maintain the platform's sustainability. But in the wake of the adpocalypse, some began to grow suspicious of the true reason behind the purge. Some believed that the company was trying to suppress independent voices, rather than protecting its partners. Evidence for this came in the form of disproportionate demonetization. Specifically, the adpocalypse seemed to target smaller creators while favoring the established and larger brands. Adding another layer to the conspiracy was the subtle shift towards preferred content, where YouTube introduced programs such as Google Preferred, now known as YouTube Select, which allowed advertisers to place their ads on top-performing and brand-friendly content deemed safe. In doing so, many independent or otherwise controversial creators were sidelined, resulting in a decline in revenue and subscriptions. To those affected by this conspiracy, the new rules seemed less like a neutral response to voiced concerns and more of a complete restructuring that led to suppression and a steer away from grassroots origins. YouTube, though, allegedly shifted the blame onto the automated algorithms being behind the silencing of some independent, lesser-known creators. Whether this was an intentional conspiracy or a corporate risk that had gone too far, the change was undeniable. YouTube culture was permanently changed from then on, leading to several creators self-censoring their content and avoiding any topic that may be viewed as controversial, inappropriate, or violent. The American animated television series Gravity Falls will never run out of conspiracy theories. There are many layers, writing narratives, subplots, and more subplots on top of those subplots. The show follows twins Dipper and Mabel Pines as they head to Gravity Falls, Oregon, to spend the summer with their great-uncle, Grunkle Stan, who harbors some strange mysteries of his own. The siblings help their uncle run the Mystery Shack, a tourist trap that overcharges customers. Dipper and Mabel quickly find themselves spun in the web of shocking secrets and sinister things that lurk within the town. They find themselves encountering the strangest of creatures, from gnomes and grimlobins to pterodactyls and multi-bears. They're also forced to confront the disturbing and villainous acts of Lil Gideon and the demonic entity known as Bill Cipher. It's clear that this show is home to a treasure trove of conspiracy theories and serves as any fan theorist's dream. If you think it's happening in Gravity Falls, then it probably is. Despite the amount of accuracy that many fans have found in their suggestions, there's still one that comes as a shock. In the Gravity Falls fandom, viewers developed the Stan twins theory, suggesting that Grunkle Stan has a twin brother. The popular theory ran throughout the course of the show, as many kept their eyes peeled, hoping to catch another piece of supporting evidence, which popped up in the background elements in several episodes. Elements that only a handful of fans caught on to. While initially appearing on occasion, it wasn't until the Dreamscaperers that it finally gained traction. A handful of viewers paid close attention to the background of one of Stan's memories, and the gang was rummaging through his mind, trying to chase after Bill Cipher. In memory was a time when Stan was a kid, showing him wrestling in the ring. As most of the focus is on this event, looking toward the background reveals the first bit of clear supporting evidence. It's another kid whose face is intentionally concealed by a book. His hairstyle, hair color, skin tone, and even his outfit are all likened to Stan's. From there, fans went tumbling down the rabbit hole, uncovering more and more observations, including the number plate of Stan's car. The plate read STNLY-MBL, revealing the name Stanley and the word mobile. Of course, many would assume that this was referring to Grunkle Stan, but Stan's full name isn't Stanley. Supposedly, it's Stanford. Another clue came in Gideon Rises, when Stan heads to his hidden chamber and activates the portal by placing all of the mysterious journals down. In this scene, the character states, "We finally have them all." Emphasis on the "we." With the observations, fans held the theory in the back of their minds as they eagerly awaited the reveal. That reveal finally came in the episode, A Tale of Two Stans. The theory was revealed to be true. Stan did have a brother, not a twin, but a fraternal one. It was also here that we discovered that Grunkle Stan's real name isn't Stanford at all. His real name is actually Stanley, and he was using Stanford's name to conceal his identity. Stanford, who went by the name Ford, was also the true author of those mysterious journals that make up an integral part of the series. The number plate of Stan's car did suggest that he wasn't who he seemed, but also tricked viewers into believing that the car belonged to someone else, not that the deuteragonist was pretending to be someone else. At the end of 2018 and beginning of 2019, YouTube found itself at the center of controversy again, involving a conspiratorial plot of subscriber manipulation. Creators across the platform began to notice a sudden drop in their subscribers, most of which was unexplained. Some creators claimed that they were noticing some irregular patterns in the subscriber region, or that new subscribers were not being registered at all. The subscriber count fall came with suspicion and speculation. YouTubers were beginning to think that YouTube itself was behind this event. It turned out they were right. In December of 2018, their fears were ultimately confirmed. YouTube was allegedly curating and manipulating the platform again. That month, YouTube made a public announcement claiming that the sudden, uninformed drop was due to an alleged subscriber purge, which they cited as being routine maintenance. The company claimed that it had long been removing inactive spam or bot accounts from the system to ensure that these counts accurately reflect real human interaction. YouTube began to warn its creators thereafter, suggesting there would be a large-scale removal of subscribers, framing it as a routine housekeeping task. The company warned that there would be a noticeable decrease across several channels. For smaller channels, this subscriber manipulation tactic could prove detrimental. The removal of a couple hundred accounts would mean that they would have to start from the bottom in an effort to reach the monetization threshold all over again. Nonetheless, the purge was rolled out in the months to come, leading to the complete removal of channels that couldn't withstand the drop in subscribers. Thousands of accounts were wiped out almost overnight. Though YouTube insists it's all about maintaining integrity, some creators have become incredibly vocal about their frustrations. Some would claim that some of the subscribers that were removed from their channels were actually legitimate people, not bots or spam accounts. A few of those subscribers were regular viewers who engaged with that channel often by liking or commenting on videos. On the other side, users would confirm that they were being automatically unsubscribed from certain channels without their knowledge or consent. This allowed for speculation on YouTube, fueling its own narrative and suppressing independent voices to run rampant. Many claim that this was all being done in favor of corporate-backed creators or those who were deemed advertiser-friendly. It's been alleged that this move further supported the adpocalypse theory, which sought to push out risky content in favor of what was deemed safe. Among the most read and watched Marvel hero franchises is Spider-Man. The plot follows the life of an average teenager named Peter Parker, who accidentally is bitten by a radioactive spider, gaining superhuman abilities that allow him to walk up walls and save the day. After deeming himself Spider-Man, he sets out to rid the streets of crime, often bringing him into conflict with malevolent forces, such as Electro, Sandman, Morbius, and Mysterio. In the film franchise, Quentin Beck, known by his villainous alias Mysterio, serves as the main antagonist in the 2019 installment, Spider-Man: Far From Home, and as the overarching antagonist in the 2021 sequel, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Mysterio wears a domed helmet that obscures his face, reminiscent of a fishbowl. His suit is metallic and features a prominent cape with glowing lights. It's this very Spider-Man character who became the center of one strange conspiracy theory turned fact. More specifically, the theory connects this character with actor Bruce Campbell, who appears in all of the Spider-Man films directed by Sam Raimi. Sharp-eyed viewers begin to pick up on these cameos, leaving them to arrive at just one conclusion. Campbell is Mysterio, or at least he was intended to be. Fans suggested that he was data harvesting, collecting all the necessary information he needed to fight against Spider-Man, while blending in with the crowd and remaining inconspicuous. A similar theory regarding this actor suggested that Campbell wasn't Mysterio, but was instead a henchman who was still collecting data to feed to his villainous boss. Many believed that the reveal of Mysterio's identity would come in Raimi's Spider-Man 4, a film that was canceled, subsequently destroying all hope of knowing the truth. Or did it? It turns out, before that movie was ultimately canceled, Raimi confirmed the circulating theory. Although viewers never received verification through the actual film, they did get it from the director himself, leaving another theory conjured up by quick-thinking viewers proven true. Though only becoming widely known in 2017, ElsaGate has been haunting the catacombs of YouTube since early 2013. It was that year that a wave of incredibly warped videos flooded the platform and lingered well into the 2020s. Despite the disturbing content present within, these videos were labeled as child-friendly, making use of well-known cartoon characters such as Spider-Man, Elsa, and Peppa Pig. These videos were overflowing with an unyielding amount of violence, gross imagery, and nonsensical content. Often, these videos featured unauthorized crossovers, combining characters from different franchises without permission. The clips featured a variety of animation styles, ranging from live-action to flash animation, as well as claymation and computer-generated images. Most of the time, there was no dialogue accompanying the videos, only background music, making it more difficult to recognize the harmfulness of the content. The videos served as nightmare fuel, with hours worth of compilations where popular cartoon characters were subjected to a variety of disturbing things, from mutilation to being buried alive. The eerie uploads managed to slip through the cracks of moderation, maliciously utilizing specific tags and settings to evade the child safety restrictions, and they were even allowed to appear on YouTube Kids. Furthermore, the makers of these disturbing animations labeled and titled their videos in such a way that they would attract more attention, specifically from the eyes of the youth. They made use of cartoon character names in terms like education or nursery rhymes. Parents, believing they were playing an entertaining, friendly, fun, and educational video for the younger viewers, would be left traumatized by what they got instead. In 2017, public awareness of ElsaGate only grew, and reports of YouTube child safety were released by several media outlets. Following the backlash that YouTube faced for this multifaceted mystery, they decided to orchestrate another major purge, leading to the deletion of several channels that were responsible for the disturbing content. These outlandish channels were utilizing content farms, aiding the algorithm and keeping their videos in the lines of sight, on the Watch Next and Trending tabs. ElsaGate had spread like a virus and was recognized as a sick and twisted conspiracy that directly targeted younger watchers. It seemed the plot was not only to brainwash viewers into liking violence, but to cause shock and horror as a whole. Bionicle is a storyline and a line of toys created by the LEGO Group, launched in 2001. 2 years after the release, the Bionicle story was adapted into a film series, which saw the creation of 4 films: Bionicle Mask of Light, Bionicle 2, Legends of Metru Nui, and Bionicle 3, Web of Shadows, and finally Bionicle The Legend Reborn. The characters, of course, were adapted from the toy collection itself, which included Toa Vakama, Rudaka, Makuta, Toa no Kama, and Mata Nui. There are many more characters present in the film series, where they all split into factions of heroes, villains, and neutral groups. Each film presents a new adventure and a new storyline that the characters must face. The fan theory, in this case, relates to one particular character who wasn't always a character. It was back in 2007, just 3 years short of the final film release, when some fans found themselves on a forum dedicated to Bionicle. specifically for the discussion of storylines and theories. One of those theories concerned Mata Nui, the island that contained the city of Metru Nui. Fans theorized that this wasn't an island at all, even though it looked very much like the rest of the terrain on planet Aqua Magna. Instead, they suggested that the island was really just one gigantic robot. One member of the forum became so deeply invested in this idea that he submitted detailed evidence, complete with visual aids, images, and unmistakable clues. For example, he suggested that two sun holes, Lake Kenai and Lake Palma, seen at the southern end of the landmass, looked suspiciously like eyes. The original poster of this seemingly far-fetched idea even got an award from an admin for the plausibility and well-thought-out idea. Still, the fans' theory was nothing more than just that. For a couple years anyway. Viewers found themselves in a state of shock when Bionicle, the Legend Reborn, revealed something only a few suspected. Mata Nui was, in fact, a gigantic robot. It turned out that some years prior, the robot with camouflage abilities had crashed into Aqua Magna, where he found his inner workings malfunctioning, leaving his camouflage system severely damaged, concealing him, or at least his face, as an island. Below each YouTube video is a series of interactive buttons. There's subscribe, download, and share. But it wouldn't be complete without the option to provide the creator with feedback on what the viewer thought of the content they just watched. So the platform added 2 extra buttons that took the shape of a thumbs up and thumbs down. These served as the like and dislike buttons, both of which are displayed for every person who watches the video. YouTube also added more information that would tell viewers a little bit more about the channel's engagement, including the number of subscribers a creator has, how many likes the video has received, and how many people disliked it. At least that's how it used to be. In 2021, YouTube rolled out an update that was met with considerable controversy, extensive speculation, and the suggestion that a conspiracy was behind it all. That update was the removal of the dislike button counter. This decision came after an alleged experiment that the platform carried out on its users. They intentionally hid the number of dislikes from randomly chosen videos to determine the effect that it had on engagement. The experiment revealed that without a number next to the thumbs down, there was a reduction in what they referred to as a dislike attack. Apparently, there's a phenomenon where the visibility of the counter encourages more users to interact with it, resulting in an increase in dislikes and potentially affecting the creators. This phenomenon has been observed across social media platforms, which is why some outlets don't offer this option. The removal of this specific piece of information, though, begged the question, why did it matter so much if the dislikes were increasing? The question led to the whole protecting the creators from harassment explanation, which wasn't well received by the broader community. The said community would argue that this decision would have a significantly negative impact, including the removal of free speech and the ability to voice one's opinion on something that is collectively disliked. Having a dislike counter also had several benefits, including that viewers could determine whether or not a video was ever even worth watching. The higher the number of thumbs down, the greater the chance that the viewer won't waste their time watching unworthy content, a narrative that didn't fit in with an industry that wants to curate what one should and shouldn't watch. The removal of the information left speculation that even more algorithm manipulation was underway. The audience wasn't the only one left unsettled by the news update, but creators found it to be daunting too. Some YouTubers found that posting videos was significantly scarier without the dislike button, because it left them uncertain and in the dark on how the video would be received. Users of the platform are still not the only ones who are against this new feature. Co-founder Jawed Karim protested this change too. He argued that the real reason behind the alteration has not been fully disclosed, leaving everyone wondering why YouTube really chose to do this, with Karim suggesting potential corporate motivations. One of the most popular horror movie franchises, next to Scream and A Nightmare on Elm Street, is Saw. The first film of the franchise was released in 2004, marking the beginning of the 10 that would follow. The original Saw centers around a serial slayer named Jigsaw, who traps his victims in games that are often life-threatening. His motive is to test their will to live and to rehabilitate them. In this film, two men, a freelance photographer named Adam Stanheit and an oncologist named Dr. Lawrence Gordon, become two of the victims of this maniac. They awoke in a dilapidated bathroom, chained by their ankles to the pipes on either side of the room. Between them was a corpse, holding a revolver and a micro-cassette recorder. The two players each find a tape in their pockets. Adam's tape tells him that he needs to escape, and the voice urges him to do so as quickly as possible. In contrast, his opponent is told that he needs to take the other's life. If he doesn't do this by 6 p.m., his wife and daughter will both be executed. As the movie unfolds, the two discover hacksaws in the tanks of the toilets they're attached to. This discovery meant that they could escape their chains, but a sacrifice had to be made. The hacksaws couldn't cut through metal, but they could saw through a foot. Hoping to save his family, Gordon gets a hold of the firearm that the corpse was holding. He fired at Adam, but instead of slaying him, he only wounded his opponent. Adam then bludgeons another trap victim, Zepp Hindle, who'd attempted to slay Gordon himself. The oncologist then decides to finally sever his own foot and crawl from the bathroom, leaving Adam to fend for himself. As he wiggles off the screen, red liquid trailing after him, Gordon disappears, and Adam is confronted with even more horror. It was implied that Gordon doesn't survive long enough to get help. At least that's what producers wanted viewers to think. True movie watchers, though, know that if there isn't a body, then the character is still alive. It was this idea that birthed the theory that Dr. Lawrence Gordon did in fact survive. But not only that, fans speculated that he would become Jigsaw's successor. The maniac was known to recruit the survivors of his morbid game, making them into apprentices and partners, where they serve as accomplices in his disturbing world. And it seemed a little forced at first, especially since a theory wasn't revealed in Saw 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 6. When Saw 3D or Saw 7 rolled around, though, the doubters were proven shockingly wrong. It was in this sequel that Gordon's new role was revealed. The Doctor had become the secret apprentice to Jigsaw, performing medical work for the traps. At the end of the film, he plays a tape that was left in his office. The tape was from the maniac Jigsaw, who described Gordon as his greatest asset, suggesting that without him, his work wouldn't have been possible over the years. Ever see a comment, post, or video disappear from a social media site or any other online forum? Turns out there's a word for it. It's called shadow banning, a term that was added to our vocabulary around 2001, when moderators of humor websites began to hide a user's posts from everyone except themselves. The post was invisible to every other viewer aside from the individual who posted it. The term has been used ever since, often in relation to social media, where moderators and orchestrators prefer some content to be less seen. It comes as no surprise that YouTube was involved in such a conspiracy. In terms of YouTube, shadow banning refers to the utter nightmare that some creators have faced, where they found that their videos were still up on their channel, but no one else could find them, and were instead met with the red YouTube logo with the confused expression, accompanied by the phrase, "This video is not available." Often, these videos don't directly go against community guidelines, but are viewed as somewhat controversial, politically charged, or even health-related. Instead of being demoted, earning a strike, or having the video completely removed, they're shadow banned. This practice often occurs without the channel owner's knowledge, and is only discovered that this has happened by accident. The primary reason behind this subtle manipulation is to influence search rankings, notifications, and even recommendations. Of course, YouTube has never outwardly admitted that it was practicing this method of moderation, though documentation and investigations told a different story. It was found that the platform does deprioritize content in the recommendation streams, while still leaving videos on the channel itself. The shadow banning conspiracy appears to gain momentum after YouTube tightened its policies. These restrictions were established in the aftermath of the adpocalypse that occurred in 2017, another conspiracy that we'll explore later. In the wake of the adpocalypse, the company began introducing demonetization rules, directly targeting channels that covered politics, conspiracy theories, and sensitive news incidents. Owners of such channels began to notice that their videos were no longer appearing in the Up Next bar, and were sometimes even removed from search results. Affected creators argued that this secret practice was an infringement on what they were legally permitted to discuss. The reduction in the visibility was, according to them, only instituted to protect advertisers and to protect controversy. Fueling suspicions was the notable secrecy surrounding YouTube's algorithm, which appeared to deliberately suppress certain videos. In 2020, a surge of reports on shadow banning prompted further investigation, which revealed that content labeled as conspiratorial was deliberately demoted, resulting in a reduction in reach across the platform. It was also determined that a significant portion of shadow bans experienced a noticeable drop in engagement and views. The videos gained less reach, didn't appear to be in the up next sidebar, or show up in search results. Unlike PewDiePie's 2020 glitch, these instances were legitimate examples of deprioritization to suit the narrative and another conspiracy in the plot to silence. One of the most disliked features in any series or movie is when the good guy turns out to be the bad guy. It breaks hearts all around, leaving viewers questioning the trustworthiness of their own intuition. Listed among the most notable TV moments that left many with an uneasy feeling in their gut was an unfortunate event that took place in Futurama, initially starting off as a wild fan theory, only to become an unfavorable truth. Futurama, the American animated sci-fi sitcom TV series, was brought to us by Matt Groening. The series focuses on the lives of Fry, a delivery boy, Captain Leela, and a robot named Bender. Other well-known characters include Zoidberg, the alien doctor, Amy Wong, an engineering student, Scruffy Scruffington, and many more. It was just seconds into the year 2000 when Fry had fallen into a cryogenic tube, frozen for 1,000 years, only to be released in the year 2999. He then befriended the Cyclops Leela and the kleptomaniac robot Bender. It was this very cryogenic freezer scene that would become subject to one bizarre fan theory, which had many questioning what they truly knew about each of these characters. In this scene, we see Fry stumble into the freezer, but we don't see exactly how that stumble was initiated. Many would initially assume that it was all a big mistake. The scene certainly suggested that he had simply tripped. That is, until you notice a strange shadow cast upon the floor and wall. It was an odd shape, one that was left open to interpretation initially. The presence of another character suggested something more intentional than accidental. It suggests a plot of wickedness and betrayal. That betrayal becomes all the more apparent when fans announce who they believe was behind it all. Upon taking a closer look at the shadowy figure, comparing it with the characters we know, it suddenly becomes clear. Viewers suggested the wildest idea. Nibbler was the one who pushed Fry into the cryogenic freezer. The Nibbler shadow theory gained much traction on social media platforms like Reddit and forums that are dedicated specifically to Futurama. Together, viewers discussed the plausibility of Nibbler potentially being a villainous creature, one who was sent there for unfriendly purposes. In defense of the beloved character, hoping that the narrative wasn't true, some suggested that given Nibbler's clumsiness, he simply accidentally knocked Fry into the freezer. But then he also told no one about it, and Fry was left to lose 1,000 years of his life. This concept, of course, remained nothing more than a theory for some time, leaving fans to wonder and speculate as they couldn't shake the idea. 4 seasons and 10 episodes later, the anxiety surrounding the whodunit question could finally be put to rest. Titled The Why of Fry, it's revealed that Nibbler was the one who pushed Fry into the freezer, and it was no accident. It turns out the adored Nibblonian lured Fry to the lab by ordering pizza, before nudging him into the tube, and setting his release for 1,000 years. This act, as evil as it may seem, was not without cause, though. While fans sat staring open-mouthed at this revelation, it was explained that Nibbler had deliberately placed Fry in the future, where he was needed to save the universe from the brain spawn. During a conversation between these two characters, Nibbler even says, "You're the last hope of the universe." Manipulating the algorithm even further, this time not faulted to YouTube, is a conspiracy carried out by creators themselves. It's the sub-for-sub practice that even today still dominates several social media sites, including Instagram, where influencers and regular users orchestrate a follow-for-follow narrative allowing their pages to see more followers than they would have had if they had acquired them naturally. The difference between the follow for follow and sub for sub conspiracy, though, is that on Instagram, it's completely legal, mostly because influencers don't earn a direct income from the platform. In contrast, subscribing to a creator only for them to do the same goes against YouTube's community guidelines. The illegality of this plot, though, has not dissuaded some creators who continue this unhelpful practice. Sub for sub doesn't work in the way that many people have hoped for. The idea behind it was to gain more subscribers to increase revenue and interest. But this isn't how YouTube works. Instead, revenue is generated by engagement and views, rather than the number of subscribers the channel has. Often, when using this method for subscriber harvesting, creators who agree to subscribe to the channel do so for their own personal gain, meaning they're unlikely to ever watch the channel's videos or engage with them, ultimately defeating the purpose. This conspiracy contributes minimally to the generated revenue, only by suggesting to potential genuine subscribers that the channel is worth subscribing to. It also does very little in helping that creator's channel win a spot on the trending page, because again, there's almost no engagement on the videos themselves. What sub for sub does, though, is create a high number of superficial subscribers who are uninterested in the videos and provide disingenuous views from an audience that only watches the videos because of the higher subscriber count. Often, the viewers even may be an audience of bots, falsifying engagement. This conspiracy also tends to harm the organic growth of the channel and potentially lead to strikes or even termination. The artificially inflated subscriber count ultimately contributes nothing to channel success in the long run, and is a practice that's not worth the risk of termination and loss of revenue. The effort is wasteful, considering that even with 50,000 subscribers, only a handful are actually watching the videos. It's this very conspiratorial, uninformed practice that's led to major subscription purges orchestrated by YouTube. In 1999, one of the most watched movies at the time came to screens. It was an American fantasy comedy drama titled Being John Malkovich, starring John Malkovich as the fictional version of himself. The plot of this film sees an unemployed puppeteer, Craig Schwartz, admitting defeat and accepting a job as a file clerk through Lester Corp. What starts off as a boring office job, though, soon manifests something truly strange when, in a bizarre twist, Craig finds a hidden door. The strange door was hidden behind a filing cabinet within the equally strange office in which he worked. That door would lead him right to the body of John Malkovich. Craig discovers that he can experience the man's mind as a passive passenger, and later figures out that he can control his body. John Malkovich was essentially a vessel for other minds. Craig, though married, found himself swooning over a woman named Maxine and told her about his discovery. Soon, the hidden door becomes a portal for profit. Maxine turns an amazing find into a profitable business, charging $200 for a 15-minute journey into the body of John Malkovich. At face value, it appears this is nothing more than a movie existing within its own realm, with no connection to the outside world or any other film, series, or book. Some fans, though, believe otherwise. Since 2017, there's been a strange theory in circulation, first appearing on Reddit. It's not the regular, the character hasn't been alive this whole time, or this is happening in the imagination theories, but it goes much deeper than that. This suggestion, based on the shared actress being John Malkovich, is taking place in the same universe as the 2017 film Get Out. Get Out isn't your regular horror movie, but it has some pretty intense narratives at play, which allow it to be labeled as a social thriller. The film sees Chris Washington, an African-American man, joining his girlfriend, Rose Armitage, on a weekend trip to the family home. It was here that he would experience an unexpected amount of racism, leading him to uncover the horrifying motive behind Rose's invitation. It turns out that the Armitage family is engaged in a rather sinister plot, one that involves cult activity. By the end of it, Chris discovers that they're kidnapping African-American people, only to brainwash them and implant the minds of old relatives and friends in the bodies of younger, fitter individuals. One of the characters in this film is Missy Armitage, one of the major antagonists in the film, who serves as the matriarch of the Armitage family. A few features of this film suddenly begin to make sense when you realize that Missy is portrayed by Catherine Keener, who is Maxine in Being John Malkovich. It was this very realization that brought fans to a strange conclusion. They suggested that Maxine and Missy are the same person, and therefore the films take place in a shared universe. Supposedly, Missy had married into the Armitage family, changing her name from Maxine. Having gotten a taste of mind control from Being John Malkovich and adapting to the wicked ways of brainwashing and mind transference, fans believe that Maxine's life after Being John Malkovich continued as Missy in Get Out. Creators, influencers, and all those who make use of social media are aware of the element that we've duly named the algorithm, a term used to refer to the data-driven calculations made by a computer to not only prioritize, but to sort and deliver content to the audience. The recommendations are based on preferences, behaviors, and interactions, allowing the audience to engage in their favorite topics with minimal effort. At least, this is how it should be happening. Following the dawn of the internet, several companies began to seek ways to capitalize on the concept of international connection, leading to the establishment of various social media platforms that allowed users to stay in touch. One such platform was YouTube, the American online video sharing company owned by Google. Over the years, this platform has evolved from being a platform for vines and fails to become an actual money-making job for creators. Today, the platform finds itself heavily oversaturated with creators and influencers who offer a wide range of content for their audience in the era of entertainment. According to reports, YouTube utilizes a data-driven algorithm to deliver the most wanted videos to each individual viewer. It's long been maintained that the suggestions and recommendations are driven by users themselves, allowing for a fair platform that recognizes all creators. Except this isn't always what's happening. Several years ago, some creators, mainly smaller channels, began to notice something odd. They found that regardless of the amount of content they created, or the frequency of their posts, their views and subscriptions remained relatively low, and some even saw a significant drop in views. In contrast, some users of the platform have found that supposedly trending videos and channels have popped up on their YouTube even though the videos themselves had fewer than 100 views. Adding to this, some creators have found that once they hit 500 views, it all suddenly stops and instead begins to drop. These odd discoveries together suggested that more than one algorithm was at play here, and that it may not be as data-driven or as fair as we're led to believe. For the next few years, small creators were faced with an uphill battle, and soon the conspiracy theory emerged. YouTube is curating the algorithm. This was what many began to suggest when they realized that despite their best efforts, they weren't moving past that small creator title. Subsequently, several studies and investigations by independent sources were carried out, only to discover evidence of bias. That evidence suggested that YouTube was rewarding the already established insider creators over those who were just starting out. Reports ultimately suggested that editorial curation was involved, and it was being used to boost brand partners and in-house originals. Brand partners refer to the creators and businesses that collaborate with the platform to promote themselves, ranging from short mentions to dedicated sponsored videos and influencer marketing campaigns. For creators who found themselves becoming brand partners, a steady stream of income and opportunities was to follow, while the rest of the community was buried. The algorithm conspiracy carried out by YouTube, in short, suggests that the platform isn't as merit-based as it's long claimed to be. The amount of effort and time one puts into their content seems to only be a small fragment of it all. Instead, it's been alleged that YouTube makes use of preferential treatment, where bias dominates the trending tab. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.